Have you heard any of that?
Yep.
I am excited from what I've heard from both our coordinators. I think the one thing about Bobby Slowick is when I hear him talk, he's a full on brainiac, dude. This dude could bore you in any conversation. And when you're thinking about, well, this is my offensive coordinator, you absolutely want that. And then when you switch to Matt Burke, right, or DC now, it's a guy who was in Uganda and Tanzania, and is a dude who you want to have a beer with, man. I am loving my OC and my DC right now.
Yeah, fully agree with you. Nothing to disagree there. I am hyped about both, and we're gonna deep dive into both of them.
Yeah. But also, someone who also spoke was Frank Ross. We haven't really talked about
Oh
him.
yeah.
He was to me the bright spot of the Houston Texans last year. Sad to say that it was the special teams, but how do you feel about the Houston Texans bringing back Frank Ross? Because him, I really see as a potential coach as well.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. If a team wants to make him or sees a potential in him to become a head coach, he definitely talked the talk today, and he sounded very professional. Like you said, to your point, he was the lone bright spot for the Houston Texans last year. That special teams was really, really good, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Frank Ross, we all were clamoring for him to retain his job. We're happy that he stayed, and they did keep him. Just running back with him again. He did an amazing job. Sure, maybe there's a team out there that sees a potential for him to be a head coach. That it could definitely happen. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I would not be shocked. But special teams coordinators, they're kind of a rare breed to become a head coach. But yeah, I
I
could
just
see
love
it.
his energy, man. You see him like
Mhm.
flexing on the sideline, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what you want in a coach. Houston Texans made some moves today. They addressed the center position. They beamed back Quisenberry. How do you feel about that?
I'm not gonna waste my time on someone that's not gonna be a starter. Like
Yeah,
the countless tweets on the timeline
because there was a
was
lot of
just,
them.
I don't understand why. What are we doing? Like, the dude's a nobody, okay? We all know he's a nobody. We all know how bad he was. I don't have to see a million clips and videos over and over and over about how bad Quisenberry was. We all know that. The average Texan fan knows how bad he was.
It was
It's
horrible.
just, it is what it is. Who cares? The biggest thing I'm saying is the Texans are going to get themselves a center, whether it's free agency, whether it's the draft. They're going to address the position. And if they don't, then we can spend the energy on what the hell are they doing at the center position? Like, what the hell, like then we can spend our energy. I don't give a damn about no damn Scott Quisenberry. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, and to give him some bit of credit, we didn't think our starting center was going to be Quisenberry. It was going to be
No.
Justin Brett. It only took us one game until we were, goodbye, Justin Brett. You, whatever. Nonetheless, brighter days are ahead. Free agency is just a couple days away. But what's interesting, bro, is it doesn't feel like free agency is close. It feels like the draft is damn near tomorrow. And I have to say, this is
Yes.
exactly what you wanted for as a Houston Texans fan. One thing that I talked about yesterday, and there are two quarterbacks who were mentioned, right? Not named Bryce Young, CJ Will, or AR-15. One of them was Lamar Jackson, who was, given the franchise tag by the Baltimore Ravens. And essentially what it means is that if there is another team that offers Lamar a crazy stupid contract, which I think he definitely deserves, 2019 NFL MVP. If the Baltimore Ravens did not want it to match that, we would essentially give him two first round picks, which I think is a steal in general for Lamar. When you remember what we got for Deshaun, which was three firsts, two fourths, one third, and he was nowhere at all in his career with the Texans in the conversation of MVP.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, I think when you are the Houston Texans and you could still have two first round picks, this is a no brainer for you. Well, obviously, no brainer, is a crazy word to say, but I feel like this is a golden opportunity for the Houston Texans to fast forward their rebuild. Lamar Jackson is still 26 years old in his prime. We know the Ravens failed to build around him. It's just a matter of what the Houston Texans think about him.
Yeah, so I just dropped my video on him just what, an hour ago? Yeah, about an hour ago. And I screamed the same sentiments. Lamar Jackson is an all-pro MVP quarterback, and you have an opportunity to go grab this if you want to. I don't think there's a lot of pressure to go getting a Lamar Jackson. This team is not ready to compete. But with him, yeah, it definitely fast forwards everything. And sure, it's worth kicking the tires. It's worth taking a look at. It's worth talking to the people in the front office and Nick Casario and D'Amico Ryans and going, hey, we got a lot of draft picks. Maybe we can give them, what? Why don't we do this trade of 2 draft picks, first round picks for Lamar Jackson?
Mm.
I'm not upset at it. I know what he brings to the table, and I know that you're going to be competing for the next decade, and you're going to be going toe to toes with the Pat Mahomes, with the Joe Burrows, with the whoever else comes out with the AFC, Josh Allen. Yeah, you're going to go toe to toe with them with Lamar Jackson. Do they have pressure in order to trade for him? I don't think so. I think the
No.
Texans, they don't necessarily are desperate. And overall, with Lamar Jackson, yes, they're going to be competitive this year. They're going to be in a lot of games, if not win the majority, maybe over 50%, maybe right at a 9-8 or whatever you
Mhm.
want to say, 10 games potentially. It all depends on the rest of the roster. The rest of the roster is not ready for a Lamar Jackson at the moment, but it's fun to talk about.
I just think he just pushes the fast forward button on everything. Let's not forget Lamar Jackson is himself an offense. He can do so much for your team, right? You talk about the holes, around this team, which is still the offense. And what the interior for me, we've already mentioned it. Lamar Jackson, he solves a bit, right? His pocket presence is fantastic. He has the escape ability. This dude's not skinny. He's built like a freaking tank. And
Yeah.
it's just when you are the Houston Texans, and I throw this out there, right? How do you have the tingle in your loins to do it? Right? Are you really going to make a statement out there and say, I'm going to start my rebuild with D'Amico Ryans and Lamar Jackson as my quarterback in week 1? I think if you are, a fan from the outside, this is your perfect situation. I know everyone loves a rookie quarterback on a rookie friendly deal, but we're talking about the 2019 NFL MVP. We're talking about a guy who will immediately not only put butts in seats, but there's no off,
Amazing.
off the field issues with Lamar Jackson, right? You see
None that
his
we know of.
passion on the field, him screaming at Harbaugh, "Let's go for it, coach!" Right? You need that here on the Houston Texans, and if anyone's gonna make Lamar Jackson that special player, well, it is D'Amico Ryans, and I love the potential pairing. I love the idea of us, talking about Lamar Jackson because the Houston Texans have every single resource to go out there and get him.
It's true. It's true. I'm down for it. I really am. You're gonna have to pay a handsome check for Lamar Jackson too, which I know a lot of fans are, not pleased to hear that. But hey, he deserves his money, right? I mean, the dude was in All Pro MVP, and he's going to be competing with whatever team he's on for the next
Yeah.
decade in the NFL. I do have a small problem with the injuries that have piled up on him as of
Yes.
recently, and I do question his longevity at times in this league. But at the same time, is it also just him trying to create the offense himself? You mentioned lack of weapons. J.K. Dobbins was hurt for the majority of the
Yep.
year. Rashad Bateman got hurt again for the Ravens, someone that actually looks pretty
Pretty
good
good.
for them.
And
But
Rashawn Bateman, not to cut you off, he threw out
mm,
a very, very disrespectful tweet at the Baltimore Ravens saying they don't, play to the player's strengths. And this is not the first time we've heard this coming out of Baltimore.
no, we haven't, and it's actually quite shocking for the Baltimore Ravens to have any type of pot stirring that's going on there. Really, when Harbaugh has taken over the Ravens, they're known as an organization that doesn't create any sort of media problems
No.
besides what Ray Rice. Besides him, you haven't heard much Harbaugh's really a clean whistle in terms of coach, players, and keeping them all in check. So yeah, it is shocking to hear this. And if you are hearing it, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
And it's always like that, especially with clean organizations. If you hear something from a clean organization, most likely it's true.
And then I think, one thing that where people worry about the money, even if you pay Lamar Jackson 50 mil, right? Let's do some math here because we're all smart, right? The Houston Texans are slated to have $130 million next year. What is 130 divided by 50?
50 divided by
80.
130. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
About
Yeah.
80 mil. 80 mil that the Houston Texans will still have to build it around 80. Build around Lamar Jackson. Already double what you have this year. The Houston Texans have resources, man. And look, I don't blame them if they don't do it. I don't blame them if
Yeah.
they do it. It is exciting to, see. Imagine running out the tunnel. You have Nick Cray with the boombox, blasting some power, some SPM, and then you see Lamar Jackson coming out with that red helmet and that red visor, man. Woo! It just excites me because it's an actual possibility, man. The other quarterback that was mentioned was Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, ever since D'Amico Ryans was hired, it was Jimmy G, potential QB signing, and once again, we hear that there has been a push, right? We don't know how hard this push has been in the
Mhm.
organization to sign Jimmy G in the offseason and essentially use it in a way where whatever quarterback you draft will sit here. Bryce Young, CJ, AR-15 will leave us. And Jimmy G will get this opportunity until one, he gets hurt, which there are some injury concerns. And two, if his play goes down, but Jimmy G, very good quarterback. Right before he got hurt, he had the 49ers at a 7-3 record. Very familiar with Bobby Slowick. And you got to think about Bobby Slowick, first time play caller. He wants someone who's very familiar with his offense.
So I got that video dropping tomorrow in the morning.
Bro, we're
For
on it.
yeah, I these videos should have came out a day ago, but that's besides the point. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo. I expressed it in my video. I don't like
I
it.
wouldn't mind it.
I don't like it. I don't want no
Oh,
Jimmy
you don't
Garoppolo.
like it? I
No,
said
I
I
don't
wouldn't
like it.
mind it. Go ahead, go
I,
ahead.
I don't like it. I am not a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I've never really been a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I look at the injury history for him, and to me, if I'm going to play the risk factor of injuries, I'd rather go with Lamar Jackson than a Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo also, sure, he took them to the Super Bowl, but he has to have the most perfect ecosystem for him to thrive in an NFL team. The 49ers are one of the most perfect rosters out there. And when it mattered the most against the Kansas City Chiefs, what
He was this
happened?
close.
What
He was
happened though?
one airmail away from having a ring on his finger.
If, ands, and coulda, woulda, shoulda, all of that jazz plays into what it could have been. But oh well, it did not happen.
Yeah.
So that is the overall point. Jimmy Garoppolo, when it mattered the most, this man went in there and he didn't do jack squat. Okay, we're also talking about a guy that at that same year, we're staying that same year in that NFC Championship game, and buddy, we could have thrown more passing yards than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh,
I
was
mean,
it
it
like
was.
15?
Oh, okay. Zone read right, zone read
Or
left, hand off the ball to the running back left, pitch toss weak. I mean, come on, man. All it was run the ball, 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 run the ball. Did I say he ran the ball to the court to the halfback?
yeah,
Okay.
you
Look,
did.
the continuity is there. I understand the continuity is there. I get that. Bobby Slowick wants that continuity. He wants a quarterback that knows the system. I also question the second part of this is, does Jimmy Garoppolo even want to come here to Houston? I mean, does he
And
really
and
want to
and
play?
that's my main point, and that is the only way I want
Yeah.
Jimmy G is, the sheet. I'm sorry, the leash is going to be short with Jimmy G.
And I don't know if he's going to like that. Is he really going to want to do that again with the San Francisco 49ers to now the Houston Texans? If we give Jimmy Garoppolo and drafted Anthony Richardson at 2, does he really want to mentor this quarterback? We all saw him giggling, laughing during their NFC Championship game. I mean, and one time is okay. 3 times they caught you on camera giggling and laughing when your team's getting raw dogged. I mean, come on, man.
Hey
It was
man, hey. If I'm Jimmy G, I'm chilling.
I mean, sure, I'm chilling too, but at the same time, I'm also like, hey, man, I'm a football player. This is my team. I know me in that mindset, whether I'm on the bench, just a bench warmer, or I'm playing 50% or I'm playing 100% of the game. Like, my heart is fully into the game. Okay. I will be your biggest cheerleader, or I will give it out my all out onto the field. Either way, my heart is fully into it. Some people are not like that. Some people are just not like that. I mean, hey, I will say this though, since we did lose Justin Verlander and Kate Upton, now we can have Jimmy G and whatever porn star he's dating. That's gonna be exciting, right? I mean, who does he bring in? It should be Jimmy G, and he should roll in with Tiana
Angela
Trump.
White.
Tiana Trump, man. Tiana Trump's
Angela White.
Look. Hey man, if he can milk that down, my goodness. Now, see, if Jimmy G does that, then he got my vote for quarterback. I don't know. I mean,
Shout out to the porn stars out there. Shout out to them. Y'all do a great job. But dude, it's just man, look, dude,
I'm just
it
not a
feels good.
fan.
No, and that's the thing. If we were having this conversation a month ago, it's what are the Houston Texans going to do? But so far, they've knocked it out the park, right? When you hired D'Amico Ryans, and everyone gave you credit for the coaching hire, I can now say that was an A+. The whole process, Steichman, Gannon, regardless how you feel about Gannon, right? Bro, pew 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 firework,
Dude, shut the hell up,
dude. But
you dumb white son of a gun. Get the hell off my damn screen, man. He was just ridiculous. Man, I feel a lot better about our hire and it not being Jonathan Gannon. You imagine him coming here and he's like, he comes up. Who would it be? Who would it be? He'd go up to Damian Pierce.
can you imagine if you did that to Davis Mills? Pew 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 fireworks, Mills fireworks. Hey, Davis Mills was finally mentioned today by Bobby Slowick. This is the first time we've heard Voldemort's name.
Should not be named. My goodness. Davis Mills mentioned.
The Maida said, I think Jimmy G option is more likely to happen. And I do too. I really do see Jimmy G being here, on the Houston Texans. You said you didn't like it. I'm not opposed to it, right? They're obviously, if you're D'Amico Ryans, you do want to win now. And if Jimmy G is healthy, he does give you that opportunity until you're able to hand it over to one of these QBs. Now, I think if you add Jimmy G, number 2 gets interesting, right? You don't have the pressure of selecting Bryce or CJ. What if you are really in love with Anthony Richardson? Then I see this being a perfect scenario for the Houston Texans because I would want AR-15 to sit for the whole year.
Look.
Go ahead.
Am I growing on Anthony Richardson? Yes. I'm on the ledge of my Bryce Young take. I'm on the very ledge of it, and I'm looking at this beautiful river that is Anthony Richardson. Now, I don't know if that river is polluted. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's clean, but damn it, it looks beautiful, and I'm willing to dive on in there, start swimming with Anthony Richardson. I could see it. I like the potential. The completion percentage does scare me. The mechanics scare me. 53% scares me. A lot. And, I did a list of all the quarterbacks since 2010 that were picked in the top 10, including this quarterback draft. I included this quarterback draft. The very last one was Anthony Richardson at 53%. Second to last one was Josh Allen at like 56%. I know the comparisons are there to Josh Allen, but Josh Allen had an absolute cannon of an arm. Anthony Richardson, sure, he could rip it down there, but not like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And we all highlight what these throws that he was making. We don't highlight the over the middle throws that he missed. Some of the
Hmm.
throws to the outside he missed. That was a lot of just pick and choose what I want to show from Anthony Richardson by the NFL Network. And hey, good for them. They were really high on him and Will Levis. Believe me, they did not sell me on no Will Levis. I don't want no dude that's eating mayonnaise for fucking lunch. I don't give a damn about no Will Levis. Anthony Richardson is interesting. I like the idea, I like the potential, and I would not be opposed to it. And overall, to wrap my Richardson point, I trust the Texans' offensive system.
Mm.
We've seen it across the league.
You trust
Zach
the you
Taylor,
trust in the Texans coaching staff?
yes, absolutely. And this is before the press conference with Bobby Slowick. I am so in love with a Shanahan Kubiak offense. We've seen it work across the league, whether it's Zach Taylor, whether it's Sean McVay, whether it's missing someone else. But regardless, it's scattered across the league. We all know this. So why would I question the offense? Oh, because he's a new play caller? I could not care less. I have almost 100% trust in that offense that I could see almost any of the top three quarterbacks having success here with the Texans.
We are no longer smart, tough, and defendable. According to new offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, the identity of the Houston Texans offense will be fast, physical, and tough. If you cut on our film, our characters will show. You're going to feel a team that's aggressive, fast, decisive, no hesitation. We enjoy playing the game. These tweets come from Aaron Wilson, who does a great job covering the Houston Texans. If you ask me, he is the OG, regardless how Harley feels about him. We love every we
Whoa, 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 whoa,
just kidding.
whoa.
We love
He
us
was
some
on
Aaron
my
Wilson.
channel.
We love us some
Okay.
Aaron Wilson. Did a
Great guy.
great job.
Great guy.
But how do you feel about hearing that, right? Fast, physical, and tough. Something this Houston Texans offense hasn't been.
We no longer have STDs.
No longer.
I am excited. I liked what he said. Fast, physical, tough. FPT, if we want to grab the acronym, trademark it now. Fast, physical, tough. When you look at physicality, I look at someone like Damian Pierce.
Mm,
When you look at fast, I'm trying to
we
think
don't
of
have one
who,
yet.
and that's it. When you look
Mm,
at tough, sure, you got Damian Pierce, but what else? When I think
Tunsil.
of toughness, I think of the line of scrimmage, and that is something you got to fix. Sure, you got a physical running back right now. You got to fix the offensive line, and you got to get faster, and that is something they don't have. When you look at the speed of this team, John Mechie returning, sure, that adds some speed to your team. Besides that, and just offensively, we're not looking defensively. Bobby Slowick also mentioned how they want to swarm, just
Yep.
like D'Amico Ryan said. Okay, I'm excited about it. Bobby Slowick, like I've already said, this was before the press conference. I have full confidence in this offense and what it can be capable of creating and manufacturing for the future of the Houston Texans. I'm down for whatever he's selling.
No, and then like we mentioned earlier in the pod, how he really does sound like a professor, man. He sounds like a
Yeah.
teacher. The dude worked for PFF, and he talked
Yep.
about how how great of a job they do, and they break down the game and analyze the game. I feel like the Houston Texans are really getting, you know, finally a cape. I, we were very hype on Pep Hamilton, right? But
Yeah.
this amount of you know wording than the way in Bobby Slowick talks, he just gets me excited, right? Another thing that was asked is, can a rookie quarterback thrive in his offense? And he said, well, I just had Mr. Irrelevant and I went to the NFC Championship. Goes back to what you said, right? This is where it gets interesting, man. And this is where I fall in love with AR-15 and this potential of him being in this 49er offense and him with the possibility of using his legs as well. Nonetheless, I am excited for this offense here in the Houston Texans.
Yeah, me too. I mean, to wrap up the Pep Hamilton thing, we were so down bad. We were sucking off an
We
XFL
regret.
coach.
I called him a potential head coach because of what he did with Herbert and what he did with Luck.
I didn't say that. I
I
did
did. I'm gonna
question.
just, I'll eat the crow on that one.
Hey, it is what it is. I questioned it just because he was from the XFL. That bum could go back to the XFL for all I care. Hell, the XFL might not even want him. I mean, let's be real. So let's get that guy. I'm glad he's out of here. All right. The only thing that's good from him is his son down in Pearland. So
Oof.
regardless of that, the offense I am excited about. And yeah, he mentioned Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. This goes back to the point of I am confident in one of these three quarterbacks. I am so confident that this offense, even the quarterback's coach, Gerard Johnson, I'm very confident in what he can do here too, because his job is going to be very, very important for whatever quarterback you draft at number 2. I'm pretty sure that's not breaking news. We're possibly getting a quarterback at number 2. No breaking news there, right? I mean, come on now. And so yeah, the offense, if he transformed Brock Purdy, if he made, hell, even Jimmy Garoppolo look better at times and look actually like a top 15 quarterback, and who else? I mean, Trey Lance didn't really work out, but that is someone that ESPN had mentioned on a mock draft with was it Mel Kiper? I can't remember, but I had reacted to a mock draft. I am sure it was Mel Kiper's, where
Mhm.
we had taken Anthony Richardson and Pro Football Network came out like February 28th. They had a mock draft where I had reacted to. They had the Texans taking Anthony Richardson at number 2.
Mm.
They also had us at 12, trading that pick to the Cincinnati Bengals for T. Higgins. Think about what that would be on draft day. You draft a project quarterback and you get wide receiver 1. That would be just craziness. But all needless to say is the biggest thing they said about Anthony Richardson was he can be elite at the NFL level if everything comes together. And that is something I have full confidence with this offensive staff that they can provide everything they can for any of the top 3 quarterbacks. That's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Anthony Richardson. Besides that, I'm not a big fan of Will Levis. I could trust that they could work with him. I'm just not a big fan of his. The other ones I'm not even gonna get into because we're getting a quarterback at 2. I don't know why we wouldn't. Unless they
I,
just do something very different.
no, and if the Houston Texans are in love with Anthony Richardson, they would potentially have to take him at 2, which would be shocking in itself. Right at the combine,
Yeah.
he just absolutely put out a show. He showed that he's a physical specimen. He shows that he has the arm strength, and it's just a matter of, once again, are you willing to gamble if you are the Houston Texans? But this is why you brought in D'Amico Ryans. This is why Nick Caserio is here. Only those two were at the combine, right? And these are the two who are being, entrusted with, kind of the franchise in their hands right now. If you screw up number 2 overall, I, I don't, buy Nick, and it's interesting to see what happens after. But with AR-15 is interesting. That's more of a project. I think with Bryce Young, right? It's the measurements finally came in. We will not have a 6'4" quarterback. He is 5'10" and 1/8, 204 pounds. He, somehow adds on 20 something, decides not to throw. And I think, in my opinion, it kind of helped the Houston Texans out a little bit, with Bryce Young not throwing.
Yeah, in terms of that mind aspect, yeah, I was a little upset. I kind of wanted to see him throw for
Yeah.
selfish reasons. I kind of wanted to see what he would throw and how it would look like. How would it affect him, if any effect at all, at 200 pounds? But we all know he's going to drop this weight. He's going to go back to 195, 196. He's going to play at the weight that he was successful in. Given history, we all know that he did a pretty damn good job at Alabama, from what I know. Okay, Nick Saban definitely had some great words for him on Stephen A. Smith's podcast. So I mean
Mm-hmm.
that was great to hear. And hey, he even dissed on Anthony Richardson. So that was a great audio. If anyone wants to listen to the No Mercy podcast for Stephen A. Smith, I don't know why it's nails on a chalkboard sometimes with Stephen A. But with that being said, Bryce Young, I mean, I'm excited about it. Yes, this does help the Houston Texans. The combine helped the Houston Texans
A
as well
lot.
too, immensely. The performances behind Stroud and Anthony Richardson, yeah, that's what we needed. Yeah, and that's exactly what we needed.
And then the Houston Texans, we also met with Matt Burke, our new defensive coordinator, who, in my opinion, like I said, is the exact opposite of Bobby Slow. This is a guy who was in Uganda and Tanzania climbing the mountains, stuff like that. They asked him, well, what is he looking for in the Houston Texans defense? And Matt Burke replied, we want smart, tough, physical players. The league has become a space league. We want guys who can operate in space. D'Amico's philosophy, bringing good people, want smart, tough, fast guys who can play in space. And the way I see this Houston defense going is I think it's just a complete evolution with D'Amico. I fully believe that Lovie Smith didn't really bring out the fullness of Christian Harris and Petrie and Stingley. And us ourselves who are couch potatoes watching the game knew that we weren't using, these young core of defensive players the right way. So it's just a matter of I really do think D'Amico is going to just bring the absolute best out of them.
Yeah, Matt Burke was an interesting listen. I
Yeah,
was more
very.
interested in Bobby Slowick, but Matt Burke sounded like a leader. Sounded like someone that can command the locker, and
Yeah.
he sounded fun. And you hear all the stories about him, like you mentioned, Mount Kilimanjaro and climbing it. Like, man, this dude sounds pretty cool. But he also mentioned that he's going to do whatever D'Amico Ryans has planned, meaning
Play
D'Amico's going to be
calling.
calling the plays. He's possibly just going to follow what D'Amico is going to do, and he's going to make sure that he is there for the team and doing his best. I always believed D'Amico was going to be calling plays. His press conference, though, kind of to me signified that, yeah, it's kind of confirmed without confirming. D'Amico will be calling the defensive plays for the Houston Texans this year. Yeah, I liked Matt Burke. He's okay. He wasn't too bad. He mentioned the same defensive line format that he's familiar with
Mm-hmm.
D'Amico Ryans. As we all know, defensive line was the key to the 49ers, whether it was Robert Saleh and now D'Amico Ryans. Defense has always been started at the D line for them. You're going to look at a wide nine front where you have four defensive linemen, but they're going to be spread out. So you're going to have your DNs playing way out there to the tackles, and your DTs not necessarily is going to be lined up over a center or any. They're going to be at the guard, but a little bit, just a few more steps outside of the guard. So yeah, wide nine system, and you need some linebackers. You really going to need some linebackers. So I'm excited. I liked what I heard from Matt Burke. Bobby
Yeah, no.
Slowick got me a little more
y-
tingly.
Oh no, like for sure, because when you think about who you take at too, well, it's like, well, you need someone who is very smart between, like between the years calling this offense, and Bobby Slowick, who is going to be your first time offensive coordinator, where you want to give him one of the, the best options at two. A guy who we really haven't talked about a lot is CJ Stroud, who is maybe one of the most accurate quarterbacks in this draft. CJ Stroud, I think, could do great things in this league. It's just, he's kind of someone we're kind of not really talking about.
Yeah, 69% completion percentage. That was the second highest from all the top 10 quarterbacks drafted in the last 5 years. So that's very impressive. And he showed out in the combine. His throwing, his arm talent was just like, whoa, okay, maybe there is some talks about, hey, maybe CJ Stroud isn't as bad as I thought. But
No.
you also got to take into account this is just shirt shorts, no pressure, perfect situation. So you got to take everything to account too. But again, like I already said it, I'm confident in any one of these three quarterbacks in this offensive system that they're going to have some succession with the Texans.
I just wish this stuff happened tomorrow, bro.
50 days until the NFL draft.
So here's the thing, right? You mentioned that they talked about drafting AR-15 and trading for, T. Higgins, right? You saw that, that article. If the Houston Texans do anything crazy, I don't think we're in a position to question them, right? If we are saying that D'Amico is the right coach and Nick Caserio is the right guy, and I feel like they might do something crazy, Harley. I really do.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It would sound hypocritical from us, if the Houston Texans went out there and said, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna take a chance and we're gonna trade the 12th overall pick for T. Higgins, grab wide receiver one, and at number two we are gonna take, let's just say, and let's just go with that mock draft, and
Yeah, let's
Anthony
go Anthony
Richardson,
Richardson.
and they go and sign Jimmy Garoppolo for a 3-year contract, and see what happens there. Hey, I have, as much as I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as I don't like that at all, I'm not going to really doubt the Texans right now until they give me some more doubt. Right now, they've been hitting out of the park. Coaching. Who's going to be the coach? Oh, D'Amico Ryans. Check that off the box. Okay, we got to get a good staff. Overall, you look at the staff on paper, B plus,
Pretty
A
good.
minus kind of staff. I'd say more towards the B plus area. Check. Good job, guys. Okay. Overall, you interviewed all these coaches that became head coaches. Yeah, brownie points for that as well. Okay, you're cutting some players that should be cut, and now it's you got to add necessary players to this team, and you got to talk to the right guys in terms of your scouting department and who you want, what's your big board. I don't have too much discounts on the Houston Texans front office with Nick Caserio or D'Amico Ryans. I am trusting and believing them, and yeah, I am happy with what they are doing for the Texans. I have no problem with it right now. Now, if they do, in terms of crazy, if they go out there and select a Will Levis,
What is
I
your reaction? Off of
give
just
me.
what you said, if we think D'Amico and Nick's the guy, what if at two these dudes do the unthinkable and
Look,
go
man,
Will Levis at two?
give me a jar of Duke's mayonnaise and let's go to town. Get me a cup of coffee and drop a spoonful of that Duke's mayo, and me and Will Levis are going to be popping one up with. Look, I'm not a fan of it, but again, I would be hypocritical to say that I would absolutely hate Will Levis, which I do. I do not like Will Levis. I just don't. I just don't see it. I don't see what some people like Mel Kiper even that are gravitating towards him. But I know I don't want to think about it either. But if the Texans do draft him, then hey, I said it. This offense has made Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, look good. This offense has made go to Mike LaFleur with the New York Jets. Yeah, he got fired for Zach Wilson, but he sure did make Mike White. What kind of generic ass name is Mike White? And he made him look good with the New York Jets, and they stayed afloat, and they went 9-8 this year. Say what you want about Mike LaFleur, but he comes from that Shanahan system. And once he got fired, Sean McVay said, "I'll take him."
Yep. No, it's interesting, man. That I think the Houston Texans are really on the verge of. I don't like Will Levis, but then again, who would give him the mind to say the Houston Texans, they're not doing the right thing?
Yeah.
What do you do if they throw out Davis Mills?
See, I can't see that happening.
Yeah, I
And
I can.
I can't see that happening. That to me would be a total almost 360 of what Cal McNair has been displaying to the fans of the Texans. Because it just seems like okay.
Oh,
Stetson Bennett.
okay.
I
Wow.
mean, everyone has their kinks, everyone
Shout out
has
to
their
Darius.
fetishes. Everyone has their kinks and everyone has their fetishes. You
I
know,
like I like feet.
hey, you know, okay, oh, a little wink at the camera there. Okay,
No.
all righty now, we get a little spicy here. No, I just can't see Davis Mills happening. Like I said, I think it would be a complete 360 of what Cal McNair has displayed to the fans. It seems like they want to atone to them. The battle red helmets, the grilling burgers at training camp,
The shiesty.
yeah, man, doing dropping the H twice. Okay, and
What
he's
in Laramie Tunsil's pick?
yes. So like, having the new uniforms next year. These are all things. Hiring D'Amico Ryans. Yes, we all know he seems to be a really damn good coach, but the fans were behind that too. So with all of that being said, you're going towards the fans, hitting it home, creating nostalgia, doing these home run kind of moves, picks. Awesome. Just for you to dookie on it, take a big old deuce and tell me and sell this fan base on Davis Mills returning as my quarterback?
Mills Millie.
Hell to the freaking no. Get
Mills
his
Millie.
ass as backup, or hell, I wonder if he's gonna beat out EJ Perry. I'll say it. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn about no Davis Mills.
Shout out to EJ Perry, who was just signed today by the Houston
Smart
Texans.
guy.
We're
Smart guy.
already making some moves. Apparently, we wanted him last year.
Yes, they interviewed him last year.
Nonetheless, the door is closed on Davis Mills. Just the fact that the first time you are mentioned is by the offensive coordinator, not the head coach, not the general manager.
Yeah.
I would feel some type of way if I heard Nick Caserio said, "Yeah, we already have a QB on the roster." Not even give me a freaking name, but just call me a QB. Nonetheless, it is
Fuck
closed.
him.
Shout out to our boy Kilo. Shout out to our boy Noah. Love you guys. Nonetheless, Davis Mills is done.
Yep.
Look, here's where I eat crow. Harley, I was a Davis Mills supporter. You know that.
Hey,
And
hey, I'm right there with you on the channel. I tried to see the light. I wanted to. Hey, those 5 games,
he had
we were
every
trying to cling on to
opportunity,
hope.
bro. Like,
This is how this is how down bad we were. We were down bad for an XFL bum and some dude that had a giraffe neck. Come
shout
on,
out to
man.
Davis Mills. He just got engaged not too long ago.
Yeah, she like her fetish is necks. Oh yeah, she wanted to. She's jealous of David Coley. She's jealous of David Coley, man. She's jealous of that fucker. She wanted it. Oh, she wanted it. Like, oh yeah, babe, that neck
Damn.
right there
Can you imagine if we just would
blew
have
me
picked between who fell between Will and Jalen at 2? Let
up.
me ask you another question. Where do you value the wide receiver position for the Houston Texans? But before I answer that, Christopher asked. He said, "What's up, Mister 713? I just got here. What I need to know about the DC and OC? Well, with the DC, you should feel very happy because D'Amico Ryan is going to have his hand in that heavily.
Yeah,
With the offense, the Houston Texans hired, in my opinion, a brainiac, a guy who, if it was talking to me, I would lose. You know, I, I would lose focus in about 5, 6, 7 down minutes. He's just straight to the point. I love Bobby Slug. I love this interview today. Shout out to you, Chris, for asking that. But someone said Jalen Carter at 12, which I think we were mocked a Jalen Carter at 12. But I think also in that mock we took CJ Stroud at 2. So it goes back to what I said: a CJ Stroud at 2 and a Jalen Carter at 12. Sign me up. You know, all these possibilities, all these scenarios, I think are working to the Houston Texans' favor. The only thing, bro, that I am worried about is a team jumping to Houston, Texas. But I go back to ask you this question: where do you value the wide receiver spot for the Houston Texans? And shout out to Lubbock. we are doing a great podcast. Harley drops damn near daily Houston Texans content. Just type in the lead there on YouTube. You already know I drop it daily as well. Just type in 713 Houston Sportcast. Do a great job here. Wide receiver to me, Harley is huge. And I put out a TikTok out there where I named Nico Collins the number one wide receiver, and I had at least 4 or 5 of it is time to give up on Nico Collins. And then I started thinking, well, that was one guy I was hype about. John Mechie, you coming back from cancer, cancer. We don't know what's gonna happen there. Free agent, I'm sorry, wide receiver is huge in my opinion for the Houston Texans. I could see them drafting too.
Yeah, I could see that. So you look at the group right now. As of right now, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Chris Moore, John Mechie, Philip Dorsett,
Amari Rogers, who liked the tweet,
Amari
who
Rogers.
liked my
Yeah.
tweet about Bryce Young being a Houston Texan.
Yep, it's true. So now we look at it like that, and then we're going, okay, Brandon Cooks, we all know that that's gone, right? I mean,
Yes.
there have already, Nick Casario even admitted that there have been talks about potentially getting rid of Brandon Cooks, not in that terms getting rid of, but trade talk. So we all know that it seems like we're losing wide receiver one. So right now, that's boop, circle
Yep.
right there. We don't have a wide receiver one at the moment. Nico Collins, there are things to his game that I see and go, yeah, I could see Nico Collins being a future wide receiver too. Yeah, I could definitely
Low
see
end
that.
number one.
I don't know. It would have to
Mm.
be a lot for me to say he's a number one. I'd have to see a lot more
Mm.
growth and potential. But I went there to one of the training camps, and I was there the day that Nico Collins works, and he stayed after training camp was over, and he's working out.
That was a huge moment on Texans Twitter.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, that's brownie points to me. That is someone that cares about his craft and he wants to get better. Whether or not he does, hey, that's besides the point. But for someone to care about their craft, to care about the work, to care about doing the routes, doing the work, doing the route running, doing the spacing, doing the playbook, like that amount of care is something I really like. So yeah, he can have the potential to be wide receiver two. Your wide receiver three should be John Mechie.
Yep.
Hopeful that return, and I'm hopeful that he does come back to what we saw from Alabama. If you get Bryce Young, well, any quarterback, that connection with Mechie is just, to me, going to be the first thing that's going to happen right away. Oh yeah, shout out to the Karate Kid
Shout out
kick
to
right
Cobra
there.
Kai. Never
Of
die.
course, of course, of course. And then I like what Chris Moore did for you,
Oh,
especially not
shout
just
out of
this year.
shout out of
Yeah,
Chris Moore. Shout
I
out to
mean,
Chris Moore.
huge find, and not just this year that we saw some great games from him. Last year too. This goes for 2 years now
Yep.
that we have seen some highlights of Chris Moore where we're going, man, this isn't too bad. We saw some things we kind of liked from Amari Rogers. And you still have Philip Dorsett. You could do whatever you want with him, whether you want to keep him, whether you don't. I don't know how much he costs. I don't think it's a lot. So, if you want to, sure, you could keep him. I really don't care about him whatsoever. But the Texans have to get a wide receiver, and whether that is Jordan Addison, like you mentioned, I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Those are my two. And then I know someone just mentioned like a sleeper pick. So
Yeah,
I would
Hefe
say,
from KC. Shout out to the KC fan in here. Congratulations on your second ring, you
I know,
bastard.
I know, my
My
goodness.
sleeper would be Tank Dell. Ran a very
Yeah,
unimpressive 4.5. However, in those short, shuttle drills was one of the fastest. He expressed playing for Houston. Said I would love to play here. Plays for U of H.
yeah.
I would love a
Uh,
Tank Dell on this Houston Texans team.
I'm all in on Tinkerbell. Nathaniel Dell is the name. Remember it. I think he's going to be very special in this league.
Yep.
I think immediately he screams, slot receiver. I wonder if he can transition into a wide receiver two or a one, but it's not bad to have at all. You want to get faster? Yeah, Tank Dell definitely does that. Not a sleeper pick, but Zay Flowers has to be mentioned just because, my goodness,
He's
he is
electric with the ball in his hands, man. And
yes,
I like Addison, don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
maybe a receiver at 2 isn't the move for me, you know?
Not
You
two.
see, I'm sorry, not 2, at 12.
Okay, okay,
Kalijah Cansey,
Mhm.
defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, who obviously gets the comparisons from Aaron Donald because he's same college, a
Yeah,
little bit smaller. One ran the fastest 40 for defensive tackle since 2000, I think 4 or 3.
no
And
clue.
was one of the best pass rushers in this year's draft. I like Kalijah Cansey at 12. However, since we're on the subject on wide receiver, this is another where it needs to be addressed in free agency and the draft. However, in free agency, there's Jacoby Myers. Maybe he gets the bag out there. Besides that, I don't Darius Slayton. Do you really want to throw the bag at him?
Whole bunch of mid, whole
Whole
bunch of
bunch of
ass
mid,
cheeks.
right? I I don't want the hydro, bro. I want the Mac 1, the jet fuel. Shout out to my
Yeah,
420 people out there, bro. I need young, and just like Bobby Slowick said, fast, tough,
exactly.
and I think speed is where this Houston Texans offense goes. Another wide receiver that I really like, and he is going to get the Will Fuller comparisons. Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, who won the Biletnikoff Award, this year for being the best wide receiver in college football. Well, if you remember our boy Javi from high school, there's only one thing he runs straight. However, he does it quite well. And if you're the bro, yeah, I come if you are the Houston Texans, I think Jalen Hyatt would be a great option for us.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt had a really good score with the RAS, very high. Excited about him. I know Lance Zierlein weeks ago had mentioned, if the Texans take him at 12. Now that was hopefully, hearing that Jalen Hyatt could run a 4.29 40. Obviously, he did not do that,
Nope.
which I'm a little upset about. If you're gonna talk the talk, you need to walk the walk, my guy. I mean, I'm a little upset about that. I'm not gonna lie with you. So I kind of took Jalen Hyatt off my list just because he needs to talk the talk. Okay, he needs to. If he's saying 4.29 40, I want to see a goddamn 4.29 40. Or don't speak your goddamn mouth off. Okay, or it's just my opinion, but I do like Jalen Hyatt. I do like him a lot. Um, A.T. Perry is another one for
Mm.
in terms of sleeper picks. That's kind of a known name now. It seems like across Texans fans. Shout out to the Texans fans in the timeline doing a lot of homework with the draft. It's like, man, you
We are
can't really.
tired of being mediocre. I am tired of tuning in to Channel 11 every single Sunday and watching the team that I've watched since damn near I could walk get his ass kicked.
Yeah,
We are ready for
yeah,
a winning product. Someone talked about Quentin Johnson. Looks like Tarzan plays like Jane. Is not 6'4". Well, like what is he? 6'2", 6'2"
yeah.
and some change.
Didn't like that he didn't run that 40.
And he only stays on one side of the field, and that is on the left side.
Yeah,
Do not
I'm
like.
not a fan. Not a
I,
fan. Not a
I
fan at
think
all.
even Steve Smith said that he just does not
Yes.
see any type of playmaking or star potential from a Quentin Johnson. I think JSN, the year before he got he was dealing with the hamstring injury all this year. 1,500 yards last year with CJ Stroud, 14 plus touchdowns, was graded higher than Chris Olave and Gary Wilson. You mentioned JSN. I like him too. I think he might be the second or third wide receiver off the board, but Tank Dell, I like. Jalen Hyatt, I like. You mentioned Zay Flowers. Everything
Yeah.
is just going great for the Houston Texans. And as we close this podcast to an end, Harley, let the fans know where they can find you.
At the lead underscore HOU on Twitter. You could also look up the lead Houston. Sometimes the lead doesn't really come up,
Not yet.
immediately,
Not yet.
but the lead Houston. If you really want to find me more specifically, but yeah, go ahead and check me out on YouTube. Give me that subscribe. Give me that and hit that bell for the notifications to turn on. trying to get to 3,000 before the Texans start. Really, I'm trying to get there. That's the ultimate goal. I'm hoping to get there fast. Right now, I'm at 1572. Last I checked. So we're getting closer. We started at 1,042. So we've already got 500 subscribers like that, and that's very. It's going to be a huge improvement from what happened last year in terms of subscription accounts. Appreciate that, Lumineer _3. I do appreciate it. Remember, if y'all want to subscribe, you subscribe to the channel, you will be raffled into a giveaway for the D'Amico Ryans autograph signed football. Yes, I said the head coach of the Houston Texans, former middle linebacker for the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans. If you want that autographed football, is it here? No, it's not here. I already put it up. But if you want that beautiful football, go ahead and subscribe to the channel.
And Zero Tugs Given said, keep creating that H-Town beautiful content, guys. We are H-Town till we drown. I grew up in Pasadena. Harley did too. I went to Edgebrook to get my tacos. I went to the Papa's Barbecue on fucking Monroe, to get a baked potato with no chives. We bleed H-Town here, man. We go to Galvey. No chives on the baked potato. We go to Galvey, even though it's brown water. We go to the Texas City Dike to catch our fish. We are H-Town till we drown here, boys, right? We're not from New York. We're not from Dallas. We are from the H, right? What is the only rule in Texas, Harley?
Don't mess with Texas.
Don't mess with
beautiful.
Texas.
There's many rules.
We keep it silent, never telling. I am Ruben Calvillo. I do daily Houston Texans content. You could also find me and my new co-host, Harley Dugan, on Believe in the Houston Texans. Just type that in Spotify. As always, go Houston. You guys have a